Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. We are broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. Today was another tense day at the Douala Central Market as traders went into another violent confrontation with security and defense forces over what they consider as violation of their rights by municipal authorities. We'll have updates on that in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast. Will also bring to you updates on the most recent road accident that killed several persons on the Douala-Chang Highway, notably around the area referred to as La Falaise, the cliff in that neighborhood close to Chang in the west region of the Republic of Cameroon. Stay with us. Many more persons were arrested today around the Douala Central Market during the standoff between traders and forces of law and order, and the people are protesting over what they consider as a violation of the right, a decision by municipal authorities chasing them, who have decided to ask them to leave the area where they have been doing business and come back to pay to continue doing business in that area. But they consider that as a violation of the rights, and they went into a standoff, the second day of the clashes between security forces and of course traders around the Douala Central Market. And today was yet another tense day there. Smanjikan Gabriel has more.
It was another ugly day in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, as traders of the central market clashed with security forces. As a result of the use of tear gas, the effect on the innocent civilians was visible. One almost ate off her tongue. First aid treatment was given before she was rushed into a taxi. At the same time, another teenager was also ferried into a taxi urgently. Apart from the affected cases, others were seen with minor injuries. The confrontation also led to the arrest of some traders who allegedly fought with security forces. The clash between these two persons was caused by the forceful eviction of traders selling on the road. The irony was that the same area where these traders were asked to leave was marked by authorities of the Douala 2 Council for them to buy 100,000 francs CFA before resettling to continue their business. At least 20 persons were arrested. About 10 persons, reports say, were injured as a result of the confrontation.
That's what happened at the Douala Central Market yesterday. At least 20 persons arrested and several others injured and rushed to the hospital for medical attention. Now we come back with updates on what happened there today. Smanjikan Gabriel.
Anti-riot vehicles of public security spraying water on stubborn business persons at the central market in Douala. It's day 2 of the stand-up by business persons who say no to the 100,000 francs CFA they have been told to pay to get space to sell on the road. Several stores observed a technical break this Thursday as security forces stormed the zone, accompanied by bulldozers of the Douala 2 Council. roadblocks were also part of the stand-up. Security forces also arrested some persons. Several makeshift stores were also destroyed and made away by standby vehicles of the Douala 2 Council. The tense atmosphere at the central market, precisely at Nkululun, for the past 2 days is due to the move taken by the Douala 2 Council to take away persons selling on the roads. Ironically, the same road they have marked for them to pay 100,000 francs CFA. Some months back, a meeting was organized to look for solutions to this problem, but till now, no solution.
And now to the opaque city of Limbe in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Tension is said to be building up, notably in the Limbe 2 subdivision. Tension that has nothing to do with the 5-year-long armed conflict going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, but rather a land tussle, land given to the population by the Cameroon Development Corporation is creating a conflict among the population or the inhabitants of Mukundange village. The inhabitants of Mukundange almost clash with those of Bondu, a neighborhood village over hectares of land, and the administration is yet to react, as our correspondent Davidson Maimo reports.
They are indigenes of Mukundange village in Limbe 2 subdivision, carrying green plant signifying peace. They took the risk bringing the bulldozer to a pause in order to call the attention of the people of Mbwando, a neighboring village who brought the bulldozer, as they say they cannot stand and watch their crops being destroyed by the caterpillar. After exchange of word, it was clear the people of Mbwando village are not ready to halt with ongoing works.
The Mbwando people try to tell them that we have a problem on land. Now you are coming to destroy our properties. And they didn't even, the bulldozer was still working. So we decide, those population will decide to come down to the DO and tell him what is going on there. But the DO did not even come out to talk to the population. That's why they are angry.
From the DO's office, they marched to their chief's palace, where they were told by the chief to remain calm, assuring them the issue will be redressed.
To make peace reign in the village, I'm calling Mukundange population to remain calm. I'm going to meet the administration to discuss about the matter. So I will give them back after the discussion.
The people of Mukundange are claiming the said parcel of land, which has their graveyard, belongs to them and has been shared to their various families.
That was surrendered to Mukundange with a prefectural number of 363. That's the prefectural order, signed by Bona Ebenge Francois, former CEO of FACO. After that, they went for a sideboard commission at 20 hectares for Mukundange.
Sources say the people of Mbwando village equally have their backing, reason for the ongoing works. We are told the administration has ordered the assessment of their crops by agricultural technicians.
Without farming in this Limbe, you cannot cook and even support our husband, because our husband cannot cook him alone.
They destroy like that. I don't even know how I will start again to have money, because that crops that I sell, I have money to send my children to school.
But failed to order for the ongoing work to stop so as to resolve the crisis first.
Went to the SDO, they asked us to pay for sideboard commission to go there. We have paid, but up till now, the Mbwando people, they have not paid. To our surprise, these Mbwando people, they went there with a caterpillar and started bulldozing the 7 hectares.
Why a complaint of crops destruction and encroachment into their land has been handed to the administration. Mukundange indigenes say if the administration does not step in fast, the escalation of the land crisis should not be blamed on anybody.
We have submitted the complaint to the DO, and maybe We are just calling on the administration to do something before things get out of hand.
Latest news streaming into our newsroom indicates that several persons are feared dead in a road accident between Pendamboko and Mbanga in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. Will keep you updated on that. And in a related story, 18 victims of the last accident that occurred on the highway linking Buda and Chang in the west region of the Republic of Cameroon are receiving medical attention in the Chang District Hospital, but the director of that hospital says the hospital is suffering from inadequate medical equipment and personnel, notably a specialist to take care of such cases. Details in this report by Immaculate Fogwe.
These are some of the survivors of the most recent fatal road accident registered on La Falaise in Chang Highway in the Menua Division West region. They are currently receiving treatment at the Chang District Hospital. The bus, which left Buda for Douala, ended up midway after experiencing a brake failure. While we were descending the cliff, we heard some person screaming, "Fire! Fire!" So the driver had to stop the vehicle. He asked all of us to step down. After changing the tires, he asked us to get back into the car. A few minutes later, the accident occurred. 5 persons died on the spot, while 18 others were injured. Out of the 18 injured victims, 6 of them were severely injured. On the accident scene, the minibus is in a state of beyond repair, with some of the items which it carried littered on the tar. The director of the hospital explains that the hospital is in need of additional medical equipment for them to better handle such emergency cases. La Falaise in Chang is noted to have registered several road accidents.
The fight against illegal trade intensifies in Cameroon. A huge stock of illicit drinks has been intercepted by competent officials in the west region of the Republic of Cameroon. A manhunt has been launched against traders involved in illegal business, notably this particular case of persons involved in the illegal selling or illegal trade of drinks intercepted in the west region. For me, I'm Strong Sander.
According to the Bambutus Divisional Delegate of Commerce, the stock of illicit drinks ready for the Cameroonian market was intercepted in the course of an operation in the Babaju subdivision.
We got information on the existence of a variety of contraband drinks and decided to go to the field to find out where these products are coming from, and fortunately for us, we got some stocks at the Babaju subdivision. We've seized a good quantity of these stocks that are of contraband and are in our country and in our division.
A move which he says falls in line with a vast nationwide campaign against the proliferation of illicit products in the Cameroonian market.
Following strict instructions to follow up our markets and to make sure that goods that are consumed in our country are of high quality and coming in or respecting the laws of the country. We now seize these products and the law will follow suit.
Yes, the products have been seized, but the Bambutus Divisional Delegate of Commerce says that is not enough, as a manhunt has been launched against the economic operator involved.
The products have been seized, and the next thing is follow the operator, the economic operator. We need to know exactly where he is, because we've not seen the economic operator up to this moment, and we are still in search of him. The products have been seized and the law will simply take the course.
The seizure in the Bambutus division of the West region comes less than 24 hours after hundreds of bags of sugar smuggled into Kuseri in the Fano region were intercepted by custom officials.
This after the summit on the financing of African economies in the French capital city, Paris, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, gives his insight into the continent's finances, the immigration situation, terrorism threats, and good governance. He spoke to Euronews. Take a listen.
First of all, I would like to thank French President Emmanuel Macron for this courageous and unprecedented initiative. Why was it unprecedented? Because at last it's managed to involve Africans in the reflection on their future. Because until now, decisions were taken without Africans present, and the decisions made were sent down to us. Here we piloted this process together, and I like the term that President Macron used, the New Deal. I know that this is until the first half of 2022, during the French presidential elections, when we will look at what the situation is during a European Union-African Union summit. Then we will perhaps be able to tell you whether what was done in Paris was headed in the right direction. The big news is the decision on the special drawing rights, which are valued at $650 billion. We were a bit disappointed at the Paris summit because only $33 billion will be allocated to Africa at this stage, which is a very small amount for 54 countries. So the objective of this conference was, among other things, to raise up to $100 billion. And after our discussions, we saw that it was possible and that we could even go beyond that. The other news is that the institution by which these drawing rights will be used is the African Development Bank, which knows African countries and the challenges they face very well. And this would be a considerable contribution to help wipe out a part of the debts these African countries have.
Felix Tshisekedi, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Chairperson of the African Union, speaking to Euronews. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thank you for staying with us. We are receiving a legal mind. Barrister Tamfu Richard is a member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. Barrister, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Pamela. Good evening.
Thank you. Now we start with, before we come to talk about the clash between traders at the Douala Central Market and forces of law and order. Let me have your take on what President Felix Tshisekedi was talking about Africans still running to Europe to borrow, some say to beg for money.
I think among all the persons who have chaired the African Union, I think this president of Felix to me is considered to be the worst. I have never seen where somebody who is heading such an institution is going to corroborate illegalities and manipulations of France over the African continent. I heard him express himself on the support that France gave to Mali, to Chad, and I was surprised that such a thing should come from somebody who is considered to be the chairperson of the African Union. And when you see the praises that he's making or the allegiance that he's making vis-a-vis France, to me, I think that's the worst chairperson that we have had at the African Union, where Africans cannot express themselves. They always see themselves as slaves to the master, which is France. To me, I'm surprised to hear such words from him. So I think it's high time that African countries should rethink what were the objectives and what was the purpose of the African Union, because today is a complete failure, and it's even a disgrace when you see how power is being transferred, or how power is being exercised in other countries, like what we had in Chad and what is happening in Mali. Because I want to also know what is the position of France today with the incident that happened in Mali. In Chad, they supported the military coup. In Mali, they're another person to condemn. So at this point in time, which role is France playing? So when you listen to Felix, you just clearly understand that he does not even know what is his role as chairperson of the African Union?
He says that African economies were badly affected by the coronavirus and other problems, and so the Western countries are now helping, the Western institutions like the International Monetary Fund are now helping to revive the economy by borrowing money, lending money to African countries which already have huge debts vis-a-vis those very countries.
Meaning that African countries will remain forever indebted, because I was instead expecting somebody who is heading that kind of respectable institution, that when we had the outbreak of COVID, we saw how Madagascar, with a very young president, brought in some ingenuities that we could exploit if African unions came together to see how maybe we could have maybe how to raise funds. But if we used to think that it is by going and borrowing, how long shall we pay those debts? Because at present, almost all African countries are indebted vis-a-vis Europe or vis-a-vis the financial institutions. So they will continue to work as slaves to them, because we are not seeing an African Union or an African organization where we are able to have our own currency, we manage our own economy, we manage our own politics and all the like. So they will continue to remain indebted.
And some of the money that are received from international institutions like the IMF allegedly embezzled, mismanaged. The case of the COVID gate, what is today known as the COVID gate in Cameroon, with huge sums of money received from the IMF for the fight against coronavirus, but which have taken other directions.
Yes, it is true that especially most African leaders or African countries they are enemies of money. Whenever money has to circulate, we are always constantly faced with situations of embezzlement, where people think that instead they confuse public funds with private money. And when you find yourself in a country where there is no orientation, no watchdog, people don't think that they have that responsibility to give account of the expenses that they do. It's but normal that we have to cry foul when we discover that even at a dying stage where money is being borrowed to take care of health challenges, people instead think that this is a time for them to grab, and then either for private interest, forgetting to save the general public.
All right, to this Douala Central Market now. For 2 days, the traders have been clashing with police officers there over what they consider as a violation of their rights and an unjust treatment from municipal authorities, who have decided to chase them out of the area where they have been doing business, notably along the roadside and sometimes at the middle of the roads, on pedestrian paths, and even on the path reserved for vehicles and motorbikes and so on. The municipal authorities have decided to force them out of that area, but not for the sake of keeping the area in order, but to mark the area and then force them to pay 100,000 francs yearly each for 1 meter square. What do you think about this?
What is happening around Kululung and the Central Market is an expression of the frustration, the misery of Cameroonians. Today, youths or Cameroonians, after studies, have no future. You find them in informal trading, and when you look at the population that is around those places, people are doing business while standing. Just to tell you that we are living a miserable life as a result of bad governance, and today, these 2 days, has just come to be an overflow of the misery. People cannot live with the minimum average salary of 30-something thousand francs. It's impracticable. So when you see people reacting like that, it's because along the line they have been bad or poor governance. These same people who were on the road were paying council money or tax to the council authorities. Today you decide to send them away or chase them away because they're occupying the public space. Yes, it is true, you can't do business on the road, but did you think of where you relocate them? No. And when you decide to chase them and you instead decide to sell a meter square for 100,000, that is extorting. That's a form of extortion. Yes, it's incomprehensible. How do you sell the road to a trader, or the cost is even exorbitant? It's even not about the cost, but the road cannot be sold for people to do business.
The road which is reserved for vehicles and pedestrian paths for pedestrians, now being rented out to business persons, traders, at that exorbitant amount of money. And when we look at the fact that many of the people who are doing business around that area, selling one thing or the other, probably do not have a capital that is up to that 100,000 francs CFA. This is difficult to understand that.
Yes, that's why I say it's misery, unemployment, people, every survival of the fittest. Everybody is doing something to survive, because the country in which you find himself, there are no jobs. You graduate from school, you still stay home while your parents are working. They get old, they don't think that they have to retire and give you space. So it causes this atmosphere where you see people, after leaving universities, they have to find themselves on the street selling dresses. And today, you just decide one morning to tell them that, okay, you will no more stand here on the road, not even giving you another means of to relocate, because had it been the council authority, maybe constructed a market and then relocated them, and then before even asking them that, okay, you have to pay this amount, but for a meter square to cost 100,000, I'm very certain that some of them are even there, are not able to make that amount of money a month. And when you ask them now to pay 100,000 for that, you are even pushing them to revolt. And that is the results we're having, because when the administration wants to make them understand that you are not supposed to be occupying the public space, the administration itself is faulty and saying that before you occupy public space, you have to pay 100,000 francs, which is incomprehensible, unimaginable. If that is how we have to manage our country, meaning that we we'll have to sell everything and then live in that kind of chaos.
And another thing that is raising concerns is what they call a tax for temporal occupation of the road, public road, or public space, what they call in French OTVP, and they are imposing taxes on people for occupying an area where they are not supposed to be there. That is what is raising another issue. Is it not the administration, the council authorities creating this disorder, this whole disorder? And it is quite disturbing when you have to move through some of those areas in at certain hours of the day. Quite disturbing. The whole place is full with persons selling this and that, right up to the section of the road reserved for vehicles, and they're paying tax. And now they are being asked to pay 100,000 francs CFA. What explains this tax? Temporary occupation of public space.
I think that tax should be suppressed. It should not exist. You cannot be occupying public space and they tell you to pay. Then, what is the role of the government? How can the government allow the council to come and levy taxes on a public space, like you are just saying, occupying public space? To me, that is a form of
extortion. The road which is reserved for vehicles and
it has a corroboration of the administration. So the money that they collect, is it that money that they use to build the road, or so to me, I think that the local tax has to be suspended or reviewed, maybe not being applied as it is, because it is not normal that it's like we are selling a public space. When they say public, it's for all of us. Why is it that a particular council or particular individual will be the one to come and levy it? And at times it's even an individual that is being assigned that kind of market. So he prices the public space according to his likeness, not according to what. There is no law or instrument that really guides him in that. So I think that tax should not exist within the communal taxes which they have to them. At least the council has possibilities of raising taxes, build markets, make people to occupy those markets, then levy taxes. That is what should be done. Not where we have pedestrians have to pass, people have to park their cars, and you decide to come and levy taxes on that, up to the point that you impose exorbitant sums and even penalties for people to pay.
And this is practically what is happening in many other areas in the town of Douala in particular, even in Yaoundé, in the town of Douala, around the Mbopi market is the same thing, around the Ndokoti roundabout is the same thing, around the Ndokpasi market it's the same thing. Traders occupying the road, the pedestrian part and the section of the road reserved for vehicles and motorbikes, and still paying taxes. And one of the traders at the Ndokoti market told me something that was quite questionable, barrister, that they are paying money to an individual who is neither a council worker, neither a public authority, somebody who just comes up and then puts his own government around the Ndokoti market, his own form of government, imposing money on the people. And one of them told me that they're paying up to 112,000 francs or so per year. How can we understand this in a country in which we have been saying that it's a law-abiding country and so on?
That's simply anarchy, where everybody you rise, you impose your own rules and procedures. Even here in Douala, you will see some space are reserved that when you come and park your car, you are obliged to pay that person 200 or 300 francs. You have no receipt. You ask yourself, where is that money going to? Nobody will question you. You have here in Douala, you park your car somewhere. After some few minutes, maybe to buy something from a shop, you come back, they have sealed.
That's been impounded.
They have been impounded. And when you want to ask the hotel, you pay 70,000, you pay the money, you don't have receipt. It's because the administration itself is irresponsible. You cannot decide to levy fines or taxes on public space, and tomorrow you yourself you come back to say we are chasing you away. So the administration is playing a double role here, because they seem to have tolerance, and when people are becoming used to it, and that tolerance is as a result of the money that they are taking from the place. So when you decide now to tell the people that no, I don't still want you to be here, you should be able also to tell them that okay, this is the other space that I have provided for you, relocate, and not that you evict them at the same time you don't want them to occupy the road. You say you impose that they should pay some money. So there are a lot of I can say abuses by authorities at the council level, even at the administration, that there are some monies that you pay that you don't even know to who you are paying, because nobody gives account. People Cameroonians don't have the capacity to even go and report. Once you go and report, they will tell you it won't work, and you see it leaves you in that frustration, and you are only forced to maybe to avoid issues, you avoid to succumb and pay, so that you don't have to fall a victim of or harassment or whatsoever. So Cameroonians should learn to reivindicate what is of right. What is happening in Kologolo is a good example. Government should understand that they are there to serve the people, not to repress them, not to make them feel miserable. If they want things to work normally, they should provide an environment, a conducive environment for people to exercise their trade. And if there is something you want to impose on them as taxes, the person should be conscious and knowing that okay, I am paying this because of this, not that it is reserved to an individual that collects money and you don't even have a receipt, you have nothing to say, and it becomes like as if you are being extorted.
And this is what has been happening over the years in many of the areas I just cited earlier. In Ndokoti, for example, police officers have been sent there several times. The same thing like what is happening today in at the Douala Central Market, around the Nkululu and Douala Central Markets. And police officers are sent there, they chase the people away, tomorrow they are back. As they're going ahead, they're coming back with their sheds, they're coming back with their makeshift structures to sell. So, and at the end of the day, the authorities are saying the population, the city dwellers, the traders are stubborn, they lack good civil behavior and all of that, and they're accusing the traders.
No, the administration too should understand that it has a fault. You cannot allow such tolerance when they decide to chase them away, like what is happening in Kulu. Don't be surprised. In the next few days, you'll still seeing them coming back. The administration should have follow up. Make sure that as it is progressing, it should be maintained. Not that it does the Bafia dance. Today we refuse this, tomorrow we accept it. Because it's this same administration that tomorrow will go to those places and collect money. So we are not moving forward. If we have decided to respect the law, let us respect it all together. If we have decided to live in that anarchy, allow people to live. So a society cannot live as if we are in a jungle. There should be established rules and everybody has to respect it. So may the administration respect its own, like what is happening in Dokoti. And also the citizens will know that, okay, this, who doesn't like to see how places are clean, or where you pedestrians, there's order. Everybody likes it, but when the administration too decides to become tolerant or inactive, people take advantages of it. And when you accept the administration, you are coming towards them, instead of putting the order, you come and put the disorder. People become used to it, and it's very difficult when you have had bad habits to change and gain back your good habits. So the administration should not always say that the citizens are responsible. She too has a role to play when it comes to sensitizing and then making us to live a good society.
All right, Barrister, we're going to wrap up with the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Recently, a number of persons were reported dead, including civilians and soldiers, notably in the Bui and Kutunja, or yes, Dongamantum division, rather, and this continues. Killings, destruction of properties. What is hindering the solution to this crisis, Barrister?
Well, what is hindering the solution is because we did not believe in the crisis. We took it very lightly, and we have repeatedly counted unnecessary deaths, because what is ongoing now, you see that there is like a war zone. You see that people have now the courage to attack uniformed men, seize their equipments. They have explosives now. They are using explosives now. You see that it's because the people who are governing us did not take the magnitude of what people were revendicating. If we had listened to Honorable Wiba at the National Assembly, all this won't have happened. So they decided to ignore the problems. It has now taken another phase. They themselves, they are unable to control. Every day they tell you, we have won the war, we are winning, but still yet you have innocent civilians who are being killed. You have soldiers who lost their lives. You have separatists, people who die, and every day there is from one incident to the other. So I think it's just because we are still living this war because the people in Yaoundé, the people who govern us, refuse to settle it, or maybe they are incapable and they don't see reason why they have to settle it. I thought that after the major national dialogue, we should be now talking about peace, but every day you still hear that a uniformed man has been killed. You hear that people's properties have been destroyed. So shall we continue to fight so the war will never come to an end? So I think whether we fight for how many years, a time will come where we'll have to sit and silence the guns. So what the people, maybe the people of Yaoundé are short of ideas, it is time for them to go so that others can maybe come and resolve it, because it has been proven that for this period of time that they have been trying to resolve or put in place some mechanism to resolve it, they are not doing the proper thing, and it's regrettable that we still have to record such incidents in those regions. But we have no choice than to live with it, because those who are governing us have no conscience. They don't fear God. It doesn't mean anything to them. Maybe if those incidents were happening, for example, in Yaoundé, maybe, or in Douala, maybe that's where they would have reacted. So it seems it is to those other regions which to them they consider to be marginalized people, so they have no reason to
Others, some authorities think that it's persisting, the situation is persisting and even worsening because of some persons who are resisting the solutions being provided by the government, some English-speaking Cameroonians from those two regions not contributing, not putting their hands on the deck to help restore peace and normalcy.
Well, except I don't have those statistics, but I think that any reasonable person will understand that war is not a good thing. So if there are avenues for peaceful arrangement, people should instead embrace it. But you cannot create environment to say you want to arrange a problem and at the same time you are fueling it, because what is happening in those regions, you are not seeing there is no voluntary will from the other side to put an end to the conflict. Instead, civilians are harassed, they are innocently being killed. people are arrested just like that. So when you have all those frustrations, there are thousands of them who are in prisons. You think those people who are outside, would they one day come to an understanding that, okay, let's resolve? No, I think you have to release everybody so that peace can come. People's mind can be calm, and then now we can have a free mind now to talk and maybe look for how lasting the peace. Nobody is happy when there is war. Nobody is happy. Nothing is moving in those regions. So I don't think that people, even those who are even fighting, I don't think that that's the choice or that's what they wanted. It's because a regime has pushed them to that level, and the level at which it is, I'm telling you, you see videos of explosives. How do they enter Cameroon? You don't know who gives them. You even see today, you almost see Dane guns. You see machine guns. So it is transforming. People are having courage to do whatever thing they want to do, because the government has given them that opportunity to manipulate the gun, and it's very difficult now for you to easily just take it from them by telling them that drop it, come let's talk. So I think you have to look for avenues, maybe have representatives who can talk to these people and see how maybe they are convinced on the table to find out a way out of the crisis.
Barrister Thankful Richard, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Babila.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Talking Point ends here, and Equinoxe comes up next.